Hi, this chapter is about recommender system or recommendation system. And I think you're already familiar with recommendation systems from many services or many applications. So in this chapter, we're going to learn how they work. Okay, what is the principle of these recommendation systems? So in this chapter, first I'm going to introduce what it is, what's the benefit of recommendation system in market, and then we're going to talk about these two main recommendation system algorithms, content-based filtering and the collaborative filtering. And latent factor approach would be another important approach for recommendation system. And I think you already learned non-negative matrix factorization algorithm. So those kind of factorization can be applied to implement a recommendation system. And also I want to talk about implicit feedback. So sometimes we don't have explicit feedback. Explicit feedback means, when you order a chicken or something, then you can give some feedback, right? So out of 5, you can give 4 or 3. Or when you download an app from the App Store, then after using your app, then you can give feedback. Okay, then you give explicit feedback, or sometimes there are binary feedbacks. Okay, so is it like or dislike? So anyway, you can give explicit feedback to the system, saying, "Oh, I like this one," or "I like this one this much." But sometimes we don't give this feedback explicitly, but we give implicit feedback. Think about online shopping. Okay, so we are shopping, and we click some items. Okay, then we don't buy it and we don't say how much we like it, but based on this number of clicks, then we can guess this item is hot. Okay, and some specific users like these items based on these clicks. So the number of clicks itself means something about that item, right? So even though we don't give explicit feedback to the system, but system can guess based on our clicks. Okay, so that is another important thing in recommendation system. And we have to talk about evaluation. So the evaluation is kind of tricky in recommendation system. Think about the classification problems, then the evaluation is so obvious. So we can use accuracy as an evaluation metric. Or if the class is imbalanced, then we can use F1 score, right? So it's easy to evaluate, but in recommendation system, it's not this simple. So we'll talk about it later. So as an introduction to recommendation systems, let's talk about when we can use recommendation system and where we can use it. Okay, first of all, recommendation system is one of the most popular machine learning algorithms, which was successfully applied to real applications since the early 1990s. So even though the recommendation system is not that popular in the textbook, not popular in class, but it is really successful in the market. So it has been used in market successfully, making money. Okay, and it can provide a personalized service. And recommendation system can be applied to pretty much everywhere. It can be applied to movie recommendation or music recommendation, news recommendation, books and research articles, and search queries and social tags and usually products in general. Okay, so you might have seen lots of recommendation from Amazon or online shopping. Okay, and also it can be applied to jokes, restaurants, and financial services and life insurance. and the romantic partners and SNS pages and the friends, etc. And it would be a useful alternative to search algorithms because they help users discover items. And often, these recommendation systems can be implemented using search engines. So think about the Google search. So if you use search, then they will provide lots of links based on the order, right? And that is actually a recommendation too. So real recommendation based on, we can use recommendation systems to replace a search engine. So if our recommendation is pretty good, better than the search engine, then we can use recommendation system. And actually, pretty much everything can be interpreted as recommendation. Search is recommendation, right? And the translation is recommendation, and you name it. It is recommendations, okay? And as a good example of recommendation systems, we can talk about Amazon.com and Netflix and Google. And Amazon actually increased the sales by 35% based on the recommendation. So I think this image would be really familiar to you. And the Netflix increased the movie watches a lot based on the recommendation system. And Google News got 38% more clicks based on the recommendation. And the Choice Stream got more song downloads from recommendations. So the recommendation system have been making lots of money while the other machine learning algorithms are still under kind of construction yet. So what is a recommendation system? So recommendation system is a function and given users and items. Users include ratings and preferences and demographics. So all the information about the users. And we need some information about the items. So information about items like description of the characteristics and so on. And the goal is to find the relevance score or ranking, okay? And actually, the ultimate goal is to recommend most relevant items. So sometimes we build a recommended system based on this goal, but this goal is all about the second ultimate goal, okay? And there are a couple of issues. And first one is that the relevance might be context dependent. So this is quite an interesting issue. The context includes time and location and device type, right? So, if a Seoul citizen is visiting a Pohang city, then recommendation system would recommend some nice restaurants. Okay, then it is not supposed to recommend Italian restaurant. Okay, he is visiting for a vacation, and there are lots of nice Italian restaurants in Seoul. So if he is visiting Pohang for a couple of days, and then probably we have to recommend something like a seafood rather than Italian restaurant. Okay. But if we are living in Pohang, then the recommended system is supposed to recommend some seafood and sometimes recommend Italian food too. So depending on the context, they have to the system should recommend something different. Okay, and then time matters too. Okay, so when it is summer, then there are some foods for summer and there are some foods for winter. So we have to think about the time. And is it the weekend? Is it weekday? Is it morning or is it a night? Okay, so we have to think about the time and location and also device type and So we have to consider all sort of context. Okay, but think about the recommendation system for restaurant recently. These systems are not actually taking this context into account. Okay, so we have to think about it. And it's not just the user and item matrix. We need time and location and etc. So it should be high-dimensional tensor. Okay, so not just the user and items as an input. Now let's talk about two popular approaches for recommendation system. So the first one is content-based filtering, and the second one is collaborative filtering. So content-based filtering says, show me more of what I'm interested in. So basically it is based on what I'm interested in, and it is based on the description of the item and a profile of the user. It means the system should know something about the item. So it should understand what the item is. Okay, and then it should know something about the user. So that's why we call it content-based filtering. So it is based on the content. Okay, and then the collaborative filtering says, show me what's popular among my peers. So it doesn't care the content of the item. So as long as my peers like something, then that something will be recommended to me. Okay, so it is based on the community. Okay, so these two figures describes the difference between this content-based and the collaborative filtering. Okay, first of all, let's talk about this content-based algorithm. So this one is all about articles. So there is article, then the one user reads this article, and he likes it. Okay, then the recommendation system will actually calculate the similarity between this article and the other articles that he didn't read yet. And then based on this similarity, the similar content, similar item will be recommended to the user, and then the user will read it, and then he will actually rate the article. So based on this reading, and the user will have more articles, and this set of article will be actually counted as kind of profile of the user. So the recommendation system can learn something about the user based on these articles and ratings. And we can calculate the similarity between these articles. These are new articles, so we can calculate the similarities. And the similar contents, similar articles will be recommended. That's content-based filtering or recommendation. But in the collaborative filtering, it is different. So we have many users, okay, and then they read some articles. Okay, this guy read this one, and this one, and this guy read this one and this one, and they give their own rate on these articles. And then based on these ratings, then we can find the similar users. So let's say this is the target user, and then we can find the similar users based on these ratings. And then if this similar user likes this article, then we recommend this article to him. Okay, so we don't actually look at any content of these articles. Okay, so it is based on the neighbors, the similar users. If she likes this article, then we recommend this article to him. And then the question is, how can we find the similar users? We can find the similar users based on these ratings. So if we have a similar ratings, then this guy is a similar user. So think about the movie recommendations. So I like this movie, and I don't like this movie. I like this movie, and so on. And if this user has similar pattern of these ratings, then this guy is similar to this guy. That's how we find similar users. Okay, that's collaborative filtering. It's completely different from this content-based filtering. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons of these two major filterings. So content-based filtering, there's no community required, right? So this recommendation is based on the content, okay? And we can compare the items. That's a good thing, but the content descriptions are necessary. Without the content description, we cannot recommend anything. If we don't have any description about the movies, then the content-based filtering cannot be applied. And there's cold start problem for new users. So there is a new user to the system, and he or she doesn't have any history, then we cannot understand the users at all. Then we cannot recommend anything because we don't know what kind of content he or she likes, right? So if he or she has some history, then based on this history, then we can make some profile about him or her. And based on this profile, then we can find a similar content. Okay, good. But another problem is that there is no surprise, right? So because this recommendation system recommends the similar content. So if I like romantic comedy, then all the time this system will recommend me romantic comedies. If I like a jjampong, then this system will recommend jjampong all the time because the system knows I like jjampong. Okay, and the collaborative filtering is different. We don't need any knowledge engineering effort because we don't need content for collaborative filtering. And there is a serendipity of results, right? I like jjampong and jjajangmyeon, but I never tried Mexican food, okay? But people who like jjajangmyeon and jjampong likes Mexican food, then this system can recommend Mexican food to me. Even though I never tried Mexican food in my life, but still this system can recommend that. That is serendipity. It's a joyful event with a surprise. That's a serendipity. That's a good thing, right? And it learns market segment because we are talking about a lot of users. So we can understand how many users like this movie and how many users don't like this movie. So we can get that kind of information too. And there is no free lunch, so there is problems in the collaborative filtering too. It requires some form of rating feedback. So without feedback, we cannot provide any recommendation. So think about this movie recommendation. If we don't provide any feedback with numbers, like out of 5, we can give 4 or 3. Sometimes if you don't like that movie, then we can give 1. So we have to give these numbers. Otherwise, we don't know who is similar to me, right? So these ratings will be used to find the similar users. So without the ratings, without feedback, we cannot provide any recommendations. So that's one thing. And there is a cold start problem. Cold start problem is when we have a new user or new items or something new, then we cannot provide the full service. The service would be limited. That's the cold start problem. It's not just for a recommendation system. So we can have a cold start problem in any other applications. So in this case, we have a cold start problem for new users and new items. Think about this one. We have in movie recommendation system, and we have new movie, okay, then no one actually watched that movie. Okay, then how can we recommend this movie to users? Because there is no rating here at all. So we have to do something for these new movies. Okay, and what about the new users? A new user actually registered this system and he or she doesn't have any history in this system, then we cannot find any similar users. Then we cannot provide any recommendation at all. So we have a cold start problem for new users and new items. That's why, if you are using some movie recommendation systems in your cable channel, then they have some new they have another new section about new films, right? So you can actually search and you can check new films there because they cannot recommend the movies. Or they can combine this content-based filtering and collaborative filtering. So if the movie is new, then they could use content-based filtering. And smoothly they can change to collaborative filtering. But anyway, and the collaborative filtering has some scalability issue. So think about Amazon. Okay, so Amazon.com. So they have a lot of items, maybe millions or billions of items. I don't know how many. So let's say a lot. And they have a lot of users. So this is item numbers and the number of users. Okay, then we have to handle this matrix because one user will buy some items and another user buy another items. Then think about this matrix. Maybe billions by billions. So we need a lot of memory space or storages, and it's a huge problem. Okay, so we have to handle this issue. And another problem is that it is sparse. Think about this one. How many items have you actually bought from Amazon.com? If you are a user in there, then think about it. Maybe tens of items. Okay, good. Then how many times did you actually provide a feedback, explicit feedback, like number 5 or number 4 or something? Then think about it. Then we don't provide that feedback that often. So we don't have many feedbacks here. So one user has maybe 10 feedbacks out of 1 million. Okay. Then this matrix is quite sparse. Then it's quite not easy to handle this sparse matrix. So we'll talk about this issue later. Okay, so we talked about two most popular filterings. And there is one more, a knowledge-based filtering. Okay, so this is not a major kind of algorithms in the textbook, but it is important approach too. So it says, when we recommend something, then the users might have a specific needs. Okay, then we have to understand the user's specific needs to recommend something. So in a shop, okay, then there is the one user is coming into the shop, and he or she is in maybe we can understand some demographic information about him or her. Okay, good. Then we can use that information. But the problem is that he or she might have specific needs, like, oh, today I'm gonna buy a jean, okay, or blue jean or black jean. Or, oh, today I'm gonna buy a yellow shirt. Okay, then we have to recommend yellow shirts if he wants to buy a yellow shirt. So out of many yellow shirts, we have to recommend one of them. Okay, we are not supposed to recommend jean or black shirt or whatever. So when a user has a specific needs, then we have to figure out what it is first, and then our recommendation should be recommended based with this constraint. Okay. Also, in addition to this recommendation, then we might recommend something else too. But the main point is to recommend something that he wants. Okay, that is knowledge-based filter. Then how can we know their specific needs? Okay, that's the question, and we can get that information based on some interactive conversation. Usually, that's the clerks do. When they get a customer, and they ask something like, "Oh, may I help you?" And then, what kind of item are you looking for? So based on this conversation, that staff should understand the specific needs. Then, if the staff understand that needs really quickly, then that staff is really good staff, right? Likewise, we can build up a recommendation system based on this conversation or a little chat.